Tell me what that girl looked like.
Oh man, I loved her. I forget her name. Oh wait, I think it was Ruth.
Okay.
She was a heavy set, big old yellow hair. And had buck teeth. Going shoplifting, we went to Sears. We went to Coors, and that's where I got busted. So I pulled her out of the car. She's too big for me to carry her. So I just pulled her out of the car and laid on that trash that was lit there.
In the stifling silence of a California prison, where the walls seemed to pulse with unspoken horrors, a man in a wheelchair spun tales of death with the storyteller's ease. Samuel Little, a name that now chills the blood, confessed to 93 murders, claiming the grim mantle of America's most prolific serial killer. From 1970 to 2005, he preyed on women society cast aside, sex workers, addicts, transients, whose vanishing stirred little alarm. His smile was a snare, his fists a ritual, his nomadic life a shroud. How did one man kill so many, for so long, unseen? The answer lies in his troubled youth, his calculated savagery, the systemic failures that shielded him, and the relentless pursuit that finally trapped him. One voice, above all, brought his darkness to light: Jillian Lauren, a journalist and the only reporter to speak with Little, who spent over 40 hours extracting his confessions. Through her, his own words reveal a predator's mind, chilling in its clarity. This is the story of Samuel Little, a monster whose legacy of death demands we unearth the truths he sought to bury. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and turn on notifications as we dive into the story of Samuel Little. Born on the 7th of June, 1940, in Reynolds, Georgia, Samuel Little's life was steeped in hardship. Raised in Lorain, Ohio, by his grandmother, he grew up in poverty's grip. Little claimed his mother, Bessie May, was a teenage prostitute who birthed him in jail, a story partially corroborated but muddied by his unreliable narration. Lorain's industrial grit shaped his childhood, where he showed disturbing traits: stealing, harming animals, defying authority. By his teens, he was a fixture in juvenile courts, arrested for theft and vandalism. These crimes were red flags, but the 1950s justice system, fragmented and blind, missed the pattern. Little learned he could evade consequence, a skill he'd wield to deadly effect. School was a fleeting distraction. Enrolled in a Lorain high school, Little was disruptive, his charisma masking disinterest in academics. Teachers noted his charm, but he dropped out, drawn to the streets. There, he honed cunning, learning to manipulate and vanish. In his late teens, he boxed, his athletic frame winning local bouts. The ring offered discipline, but crime was his arena. By his early 20s, he was a drifter, moving between Ohio, Florida, and California, living off theft, fraud, and odd jobs. This ruthlessness became his greatest weapon, letting him strike and disappear, leaving only echoes of his presence. Little's criminal career ignited in the late 1950s, a prelude to his atrocities. His rap sheet swelled with arrests for robbery, assault, and burglary across states, yet he faced minimal punishment. The era's lack of national databases let him use aliases and slip away. By the 1960s, his crimes turned violent, with assaults on women revealing sadism. In 1961, a Lorain burglary earned him 3 years in prison, his longest early sentence. Released, he resumed his transient life, each brush with the law a missed chance to stop him. These years shaped a predator who thrived on society's margins, exploiting its oversights with chilling precision. The murders began in 1970, launching a 35-year spree that defies comprehension. Little targeted women society deemed less dead, a term for those on the fringes, sex workers, drug addicts, transients, often black or Hispanic, whose deaths rarely spark urgency. His method was brutal and calculated. He approached victims with a warm smile, offering a ride, a drink, or cash, luring them to secluded spots, abandoned lots, woods, or empty buildings. There, his boxer's strength erupted. He punched to stun, then strangled with his hands, avoiding weapons to minimize evidence. Bodies were dumped in remote ditches, alleys, or rivers, often never found. Many deaths were mislabeled as overdoses, suicides, or natural causes, the victim's status deterring investigation. This invisibility was Little's shield, enabling him to kill across 19 states with near impunity. His confessed tally of 93 murders, with 60 confirmed by the FBI, paints a staggering toll. In Miami, 1970, he killed Mary Brosley, a 33-year-old white transient. He met her at a bar, offering a ride, then drove to a field where he strangled her, leaving her body underbrush. "I got my nerve up, choked her out," he told Lauren, his voice flat, as if describing a chore. The case went cold until 2018. In Los Angeles, Carol Alford, 41, a mother battling addiction, was lured to an alley in 1987 with drugs. Little punched and strangled her, leaving bite marks. Audrey Nelson, 35, a sex worker, met Little in 1989, accepting a ride that ended in a dumpster where he choked her. Guadalupe Apodaca, 46, a grandmother, was picked up that year, driven to an abandoned garage, and strangled. Old Lady. These murders, linked by DNA, anchored his 2014 conviction. In Odessa, Texas, 1994, Little killed Denise Christie Brothers, a 38-year-old mother. He approached her outside a bar, offering money, then drove to a vacant lot where he strangled her, dumping her body in grass. She cried, begged a little. He told Lauren, his tone almost amused. In Cleveland, 1984, he murdered Mary Jo Payton, 21, luring her from a bar to an abandoned factory where he choked her and threw her down a staircase. In Macon, Georgia, 1977, he killed Fredonia Smith, a 23-year-old poet. He offered a ride, then diverted to a forest, strangling. Pretty Girl wrote poems, he told Lauren, as if her art was a trophy. In Gulfport, Mississippi, 1982, he murdered Melinda LaPree, a 22-year-old sex worker, luring her to a beach with cash, then choking her and burying her in sand. Kicked like a mule, he said to Lauren, a grim nod to her struggle. In Phoenix, 1988, Little killed Annie Lee Stewart, a 32-year-old mother. He met her at a shelter, offering food, then drove to a desert wash where he strangled her. Soft voice. Didn't last. In Cincinnati, 1981, he murdered Linda Bennett, a 38-year-old sister. He approached her at a park, promising a job, then took her to an abandoned lot where he killed her. In New Orleans, 1982, he killed Ruth, a black woman in her 20s with a red scarf. He offered a drink, drove to a levee, and strangled her, her body likely swept away. In Memphis, 1990, he murdered Tina, a 30-year-old addict, luring her with drugs to a riverbank. Skinny, went out fast, he said, but Lauren. In Savannah, 1974, he killed Mary Ann, a 19-year-old runaway, driving her to a marsh from a diner. Cried for her mama, he told Lauren, his voice devoid of pity. In Compton, 1987, Little met a 19-year-old black woman, honey-colored and a gang member, near a halfway house. He lured her to a parking lot, strangled her despite her resistance, and drove her body to the Hollywood Hills, tossing it into vegetation. In Atlanta, 1984, he danced with a black woman in her late 20s, upset over a boyfriend. She hid in his car to leave unseen, and he drove to a secluded road off Interstate 75, strangling her among trees. These confessions, chilling in their specificity, reveal a predator who savored control, his victims' humanity reduced to fleeting details. These women were lives stolen. Mary Brosley was known for her kind smile, surviving Miami's transient scene. Carol Alford dreamed of recovery, her laughter missed by her children. Audrey Nelson was fierce, enduring the streets. Guadalupe Apodaca loved her grandchildren, her absence a wound. Denise Christie Brothers filled rooms with her laugh, her music silenced. Mary Jo Payton aimed to be a nurse, her compassion cut short. Fredonia Smith wrote poetry, her words lost. Melinda Lapre dreamed of better days, her death a footnote. Annie Lee Stewart was a devoted mother, her warmth buried. Linda Bennett was a pillar for her siblings, her strength undone. Ruth, Tina, and Mary Ann remain shadows, their stories untold, their families perhaps waiting. Little sketches, over 40, her haunting portraits, capturing a braid, a scarf, a shy smile with eerie precision. The FBI's VICAP program has used them to identify victims like Alice Denise Duval, a 27-year-old dancer killed in Houston, 1991, after Little lured her with a ride. Others, like Ruth or Tina, remain unidentified, their bodies unlocated, their sketches a plea. Each victim had a dream, erased by a man who saw them as objects. The FBI's appeals have named some, but many remain lost, a testament to Little's devastation. What drove such slaughter? Little told Lauren, "God made me this way, so I said, why fight?" His killings were a sexual thrill, strangulation his release, a curse he claimed divine. He chose less dead women, betting their deaths would go unnoticed, a bet that held for decades. There was always out there, needing something, his rationale for targeting the vulnerable. His charisma, honed through conning cops and victims, was his deadliest tool. He posed as a laborer, preacher, or friend, blending in. Survivors' accounts of his rage, his grip, revealed a man who thrived on domination. His photographic memory, recalling a victim's earrings or rain scent, stunned investigators, a twisted archive. Little's mistakes were rare but critical. In 1982, he was arrested in Pascagoula, Mississippi, for Lapre's murder. Witnesses Hilda Nelson and Layla McLean identified him, reporting assaults. Charges were dismissed, possibly due to witness tampering, a failure Lauren attributes to the victim's status. The police didn't prioritize them. In 1984, San Diego police caught him beating Tonya Jackson, linking him to an attack on Lori Barros, who survived by playing dead. Convicted of assault, he served 2.5 years, a lenient sentence. The system saw these women as disposable, Lauren said, explaining his freedom. These escapes fueled his arrogance, but left a trail, testimonies, reports, and DNA. Lauren's investigation began in 2017 with LAPD detective Mitzi Roberts, who caught Little. "He went after women we didn't look for," Roberts told Lauren, proud of her role but haunted by the oversight. Lauren, driven by her own past with drugs and violence, spent 40 hours interviewing Little in 2018 at California State Prison. "He was a master storyteller, seductive, but dead inside," she told me, describing his chilling detachment. Little confessed to her because she asked, offering transactional rapport. "He wanted his genius known," she said, noting his fear of fading unknown. Her work, alongside Texas Ranger James Holland's interrogations, extracted confessions that closed dozens of cases. The turning point came in 2012, not with a murder charge but a drug bust. In Louisville, Kentucky, Little was arrested at a homeless shelter for cocaine possession, a minor offense that sparked his downfall. Extradited to California, he faced Roberts' team, probing the 1987 to 1989 murders of Alford, Nelson, and Arpordica. DNA matched Little's saliva to evidence, including Alford's underwear. The science was undeniable. In 2014, at 74, Little stood trial in Los Angeles, his charm useless against forensic truth. Survivors testified, piercing his denials. The jury convicted him of 3 murders, sentencing him to 3 life terms without parole. The trial was a fraction of his crimes. In 2018, Holland, whom Lauren calls a cowboy with a heart for cold cases, entered Little's cell. Building trust, Holland coaxed confessions to 93 murders, backed by details only the killer could know. Little described victims' appearances, locations, weather, his sketches adding a visual dimension. Lauren witnessed Holland's passion for marginalized women, a contrast to Little's indifference. These confessions closed cases from Miami to Phoenix, though some remain open, bodies missing. Little's cooperation was ego-driven, not remorseful, a bid for infamy. Little's 2014 sentencing ensured he'd die in prison, but his confessions reshaped his legacy. No further trials were pursued. California's life sentences sufficed, but his admissions exposed a system that failed his victims. Racial and economic biases, siloed police work, and pre-digital record-keeping let him roam free. The less dead label meant police didn't care enough, Lauren told me, highlighting systemic flaws. His case spurred reforms, expanded VICAP, better missing persons protocols, and prioritizing marginalized victims. Yet, for many families, justice was incomplete, as Little faced no charges for most crimes. The FBI's efforts, using genealogy and appeals, seek to name the unnamed, a slow quest for closure. The victims' stories are the heart of this tragedy. Beyond the named, Brosley, Alford, Nelson, Arpordica, brothers, Peyton, Smith, Lapre, Stewart, Bennett, Duval, lie dozens more, their identities partial or unknown. Each abduction was a betrayal, a kind word, a false promise, a drive to isolation. Each killing was a ritual, a stunning punch, hands on the throat, a body discarded. These women were daughters, mothers, dreamers. Alford's daughter mourned her unfulfilled hopes. Brother's children missed her vibrant spirit. Peyton's family grieved her nursing ambitions. The unnamed, like Ruth or Tina, represent countless others, their absence a silent wound. Little's choice of less dead victims reflected a society that failed them. In prison, Little remained unrepentant, his health fading. Diabetes and heart disease confined him to a wheelchair by 2018, a frail shell of the predator who roamed. He died on the 30th of December, 2020, at 80, in a California prisoner hospital. Lauren learned of his death via a detective's text, noting his self-pity, not remorse. He felt sorry for himself, not them, she told me. Documentaries like Confronting a Serial Killer, inspired by Lauren's work, and Oxygen's Catching a Serial Killer, Sam Little kept his story alive, fueling debates about justice and equity. Little's psyche defies answers. I didn't mean to be so twisted, blaming God, not himself. Some diagnosed antisocial personality disorder, citing his lack of empathy and charm. Boxing injuries may have worsened impulses, but he needed no catalyst. His memory stunned investigators, each detail a shard of obsession. He spoke of victims like characters, their lives reduced to his narrative. This detachment, paired with charisma, made him a singular threat, a man who could smile as he killed. His cultural impact endures. Scholars study him to refine serial killer profiles, noting how he defied stereotypes by targeting the marginalized. Advocates cite his case to demand better victim protections. Lauren's book, Behold the Monster, and her 40 Hours with Little underscore the human cost. The FBI's work, using genealogy and appeals, keeps his victims' names in focus, a counterpoint to his infamy. As of 2025, unidentified cases persist, each a call to remembrance. Little's sketches, digitized, are both tool and wound, urging the world to see what he tried to erase. And yet, Samuel Little's shadow clings like a curse to America's soul. In tangled woods, beneath unmarked earth, along silent rivers, his victims wait, their stories fractured, their names a whisper on the wind. The sketches he left, ghostly portraits of women he thought he'd erased, are a relentless summons, calling to those who might recognize a face, a memory, a life. There was nothing to nobody, Little told Lauren, but he was wrong. The FBI presses on, families hold vigil, and somewhere, a woman's laughter, her dreams, her essence, lingers in the void he carved. Lauren's voice echoes, these women mattered. Little believed he could bury his sins in the margins, but those margins are rising, demanding to be seen. With every sketch shared, every case reopened, the truth claws closer, a tide against his darkness. Will we find them all? Will we speak their names? The hunt burns on, and in its fire, a question haunts. What else lies hidden in the silence he left behind? Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Don't hesitate to share. See you next Tuesday on Morbid Curiosity.